Tonight at a Board of Trustees meeting in Thornton Township, the board and citizens looking for accountability to their finances while the township supervisor.
Appointment, that's what the trustees I talked to are calling this. They say the news took them by surprise, and now they're talking to legal counsel to figure.
During a recent meeting with the residents of Dolton, Illinois, Mayor Tiffany Henyard once again made headlines for all the wrong reasons, deepening the frustration surrounding her controversial tenure. Arriving at the meeting with apparent confidence and defiance, Henyard shocked attendees by offering no apology or explanation for the scandals that have plagued her leadership. Instead, in a stunning display of arrogance, she managed to escalate tensions in a community already on edge due to growing allegations of corruption, financial mismanagement, and administrative chaos. This was compounded by reports that the state controller had suspended key payments to the village, citing non-compliance with financial reporting laws. Adding to the gravity of the situation, Dolton faces a looming $2 million budget deficit. Residents had gathered in hopes of hearing accountability from their elected leader. However, instead of addressing their concerns or acknowledging the financial crisis, Henyard turned the meeting into a scolding session, accusing residents of being responsible for their own struggles. She suggested that their financial difficulties were their own fault, further alienating those in the room. The crowd, already frustrated and desperate for answers, was left stunned as Henyard blamed them for what she called their quarrelsome nature and inability to manage their community. It was a moment of shocking arrogance, where the mayor shed any pretense of responsibility and, rather than providing solutions, intensified the division. Under Henyard's leadership, Dolton's financial woes have only deepened. Allegations of misusing public funds for personal gain have surfaced, and reports of questionable spending practices continue to fuel public suspicion. With no visible improvements in the community and no relief from the mayor's administration, residents are left questioning where their tax dollars have gone. Despite these mounting concerns, Henyard has shown little willingness to address the issues or collaborate with the community to find solutions. The meeting was marked by an atmosphere of growing frustration and disbelief. Residents, who had hoped for a sign of leadership in these difficult times, were instead met with a mayor who seemed entirely detached from their struggles. Henyard's refusal to take any responsibility or even acknowledge the severity of Dolton's financial troubles only furthered the sense of hopelessness in the room. Rather than offering a plan to navigate the crisis, she remained dismissive of her constituents, displaying a shocking lack of empathy or concern. Henyard's continued leadership in the face of widespread controversy and public dissatisfaction raises serious questions about the state of accountability in Dolton. As the village's financial challenges continue to worsen, and with critical funding withheld due to non-compliance with state regulations, many residents are left wondering if Dolton can ever recover under her watch. Her tenure as mayor has become synonymous with turmoil, financial instability, and a growing sense of distrust between the leadership and the people it is supposed to serve. The meeting highlighted a much larger issue: a community struggling to hold its leaders accountable while facing the long-term consequences of failed governance. As Dolton grapples with a mounting debt, damaged infrastructure, and an erosion of public trust, the need for transparency, reform, and responsible leadership has never been more urgent.
Developments in South Suburban Dolton today. First, the state comptroller has suspended some payments to the village because it has failed to follow the law.
Tiffany Henyard has long been a controversial figure, but recent events have solidified her reputation for all the wrong reasons, casting her in the spotlight for allegations of financial mismanagement and questionable leadership. As a public official under intense scrutiny, Henyard's name has become synonymous with scandal, with reports suggesting she has engaged in a range of dubious activities, including the misuse of taxpayer funds for personal expenses. These allegations have drawn the attention of federal authorities, with the FBI reportedly investigating her administration. Despite the gravity of the situation, Henyard has continued to appear at public events with an air of defiance, seemingly presenting herself as untouchable. The latest revelations about Henyard's spending are particularly shocking. Rumors have surfaced that she spent a staggering $33,000 on Amazon in a single day, an outrageous misuse of public funds that has left the already struggling community of Dolton in disbelief. These extravagant purchases were allegedly just the tip of the iceberg, as Henyard is accused of using taxpayer money on shopping sprees across various platforms like Amazon, Target, and Wayfair. Such financial recklessness comes at a time when Dalton's fiscal situation has been in freefall under her leadership. Rather than acknowledging the mounting concerns over Dalton's financial stability, Henyard has remained unapologetic and even defiant. During a recent public meeting, residents gathered to demand answers about the town's financial crisis, only to be met with Henyard's dismissive attitude. Instead of addressing their grievances or offering an explanation, she launched an offensive against the very people who had entrusted her with leadership. In a cold and emotionless display, Henyard accused the residents of being the root cause of the town's problems, refusing to take any responsibility for the mess she has contributed to. Her lack of empathy and accountability left many in the crowd stunned and outraged. Henyard's behavior during this meeting was emblematic of her tenure as mayor, one marked by scandal, mismanagement, and a growing disconnect between her actions and the needs of the community. The allegations against her administration are wide-ranging, with accusations of reckless spending and gross misuse of public funds at a time when Dalton is facing severe financial instability. Despite the growing calls for transparency and accountability, Henyard continues to act as though her actions are beyond reproach, with little regard for the impact on the community she is supposed to serve. The sense of frustration among Dalton residents is palpable. As their town's finances spiral further into crisis, Henyard's refusal to acknowledge the need for change or to take responsibility has only exacerbated the situation. Her alleged misuse of village funds has not only destabilized Dalton's economy, but has also eroded public trust. Meanwhile, Henyard remains unshaken in her public appearances, seemingly unconcerned by the federal investigation now examining her financial dealings and spending practices. For many residents, the lack of accountability has become a bitter pill to swallow. They had hoped that the recent meeting with Henyard would provide some clarity or, at the very least, signal that their mayor understood the gravity of the situation. Instead, her appearance only reinforced the perception of a leader more interested in deflecting blame than addressing the root causes of Dalton's financial collapse. Henyard's continued defiance and dismissiveness have deepened the divide between her administration and the people she is meant to serve, leaving Dalton's future in even greater uncertainty.
Be on the street fighting crime, and instead we have several officers that are riding.
For months, Mayor Tiffany Henyard of Dalton, Illinois, has been under intense federal investigation following numerous complaints from former employees, business owners, and public officials that raised serious concerns about her conduct. Subpoenas have been issued, records seized, and individuals close to Henyard have been questioned. Despite the mounting scrutiny and a growing federal probe, Henyard has maintained a defiant, untouchable persona. She continues to go about her daily business with confidence, showing little concern for the serious allegations surrounding her. Branding herself as the people's mayor, Henyard presents an image of authority. But beneath the surface lies a troubling history of alleged corruption, abuse of power, and financial mismanagement. The accusations against Henyard are wide-ranging, with the misappropriation of public funds being just the beginning. Reports have surfaced suggesting that she has weaponized the local police force for her personal interests, using officers for tasks that have nothing to do with public safety. Allegedly, instead of focusing on patrolling the streets or addressing crime, some police officers have been assigned to chauffeur Henyard to and from private events and parties, all at taxpayer expense. This blatant misuse of resources has outraged residents, particularly those who believe their police force should be focusing on real public safety issues rather than serving the personal whims of a mayor. Henyard's failure to address this issue has deepened the frustration in the community, where residents are already grappling with significant financial instability. But the alleged misuse of the police force is not the only controversy surrounding Henyard's leadership. She has also faced accusations of appointing close friends and allies to key roles within the community, often bypassing more qualified candidates in favor of loyalty. One glaring example of this favoritism occurred when Henyard appointed a new village administrator, while the previous administrator had not even been formally removed from office. This move showed a complete disregard for protocol and public opinion, further solidifying Henyard's reputation as a leader who operates without concern for rules, regulations, or public accountability. Henyard's conduct during public meetings has only fueled the growing frustrations of Dalton's residents. Rather than addressing their concerns or taking accountability for her administration's failures, she has adopted a dismissive and condescending tone. At a recent public meeting, tensions reached a boiling point as residents gathered to voice their grievances and demand answers regarding the state of their community. Instead of listening or offering solutions, Henyard used the platform to shift the blame onto the very people who elected her, declaring that the town's problems were the result of residents' own failures. Her refusal to accept responsibility for the financial troubles, administrative chaos, and scandals facing the town only deepened the crowd's anger and frustration. This behavior has become emblematic of Henyard's leadership style, a mix of arrogance, deflection, and a complete disregard for the needs and concerns of the people she serves. Dalton has been grappling with financial mismanagement, allegations of corruption, and a fractured sense of community under her leadership. Yet, Henyard continues to behave as though she is immune to the consequences of her actions. At the recent meeting, a resident's frustration boiled over, with one attendee shouting, "Just arrest her already. She's a criminal and deserves to be in federal prison." This sentiment seemed to echo across the room, as many others shared similar anger, feeling that Henyard was trying to paint herself as the victim despite mounting evidence of wrongdoing. Adding to the public's frustration is Henyard's continued misuse of village funds for personal gain. Her lavish spending habits, combined with allegations of manipulating contracts to benefit her inner circle, have left Dalton in financial disarray. Residents are angry and feeling betrayed as they watch their tax dollars seemingly funneled into activities, appointments, and spending that do nothing to address the pressing issues facing their town. Meanwhile, Henyard appears unfazed, continuing to hold meetings, schedule appointments, and manage village affairs as if nothing is wrong, behaving as though she is above reproach. The boldness with which Henyard has conducted herself has only intensified the public's demand for justice. Despite federal authorities closely monitoring her actions, Henyard has shown little remorse or willingness to change her course. During the public meeting, her refusal to engage constructively with the community and her readiness to deflect blame further fueled the crowd's anger. Many residents felt dismissed and disrespected, which only increased calls for her immediate removal from office. The growing frustration among Dalton's residents is not without cause. Henyard's actions, from the alleged financial misconduct to the weaponization of local resources for her personal benefit, paint a troubling picture of a leader who has lost sight of her duty to serve the public. What makes her behavior even more concerning is the audacity with which she operates, even as the FBI investigation continues to tighten around her administration. Residents of Dalton are left wondering how long Henyard will be able to maintain her position of power, given the mounting evidence against her. With the FBI investigation into her activities gaining steam, there is growing hope that the mayor will eventually be held accountable for her actions. However, for now, Henyard seems determined to continue her leadership as though she is untouchable, ignoring the calls for accountability and transparency that are growing louder by the day. The contrast between her public image and the private allegations against her only adds to the distrust and frustration felt by the community, who are left to question whether Dalton can ever recover while she remains in power.
It's not paid, Dodger.
Did you fly first class to Las Vegas?
The frustration among Dalton residents continues to grow as Mayor Tiffany Henyard faces mounting scandal and public outcry, yet still faces no tangible repercussions. Despite the FBI's investigation into her alleged financial impropriety and corruption, many citizens feel that the investigation is progressing too slowly and that no real action is being taken. One particularly frustrated resident remarked that the situation doesn't seem serious enough, suggesting the FBI's apparent lack of urgency indicates that Henyard's actions aren't being prioritized. This growing sense of impatience has left the community wondering just how long Henyard can push the boundaries of her power before facing any real consequences. Many fear that she may continue to act with impunity while the investigation drags on. Known for her unyielding determination to maintain her position, Henyard has shown time and again that she is willing to fight for her job at any cost. She has vetoed attempts by the village board to investigate her actions or halt financial audits regarding Dalton's dire fiscal situation. With her continued ability to wield political power and her refusal to allow oversight, residents worry that nothing will change in the village until there is a shift in leadership. As long as Henyard is in control, it seems unlikely that Dalton will see any meaningful accountability or reform. One particularly disturbing aspect of Henyard's defiance is her use of connections to shield herself from the growing pressure. In a bold move, she invited two powerful defense attorneys, known for their aggressive tactics in high-profile cases, to a recent board meeting. This gesture made it clear that Henyard is prepared to fight tooth and nail to protect her position. The involvement of such high-profile legal figures has raised concerns among residents, prompting questions about just how deeply embedded Henyard's network is and how far it might stretch. Is Henyard preparing for a fierce battle in court? Or is this just another strategy to intimidate anyone who dares challenge her authority? While Henyard seems to be focused on fortifying her position, her public image appears to be a key concern as well. In her latest attempt to regain public support, Henyard announced a State of the Village address, where she promised to present receipts that would supposedly prove her innocence. However, the specifics of these receipts have yet to be disclosed, and many remain skeptical about how they could possibly exonerate her. Critics view this as yet another calculated public relations stunt, designed to buy her more time and keep the public in suspense. This move has done little to address the broader issues facing Dalton, which continue to worsen under her leadership. The tension between residents demanding justice and a mayor who seems determined to avoid accountability continues to grow. Dalton remains in limbo, with its residents uncertain whether legal action or public pressure will eventually bring Henyard's reign to an end. While the FBI continues its investigation into her actions, Henyard appears undeterred, playing her cards carefully to delay any reckoning. Meanwhile, the pressing issues facing Dalton, including financial instability and widespread distrust in leadership, continue to worsen. As the legal process drags on, Dalton residents are left to wonder if there will ever be any real accountability for the mayor's actions. The mounting frustration is palpable, and while Henyard continues to maneuver politically and legally, it's unclear when or if justice will prevail. The residents of Dalton are growing more desperate for answers, questioning whether their community can ever recover while Henyard remains in power. The situation remains at a standstill, and many are left wondering how much longer the status quo can last before something gives.
Things that we there will be no comments,
The growing frustration of Dalton residents is becoming impossible to ignore as Mayor Tiffany Henyard remains in office despite a long list of scandals and allegations of misconduct. Even her most ardent supporters are beginning to lose faith in her leadership as the mayor's tenure continues to be defined by financial mismanagement, abuse of power, and a stark lack of accountability. Accusations that Henyard used village funds for personal gain and led a lifestyle far removed from the residents she was elected to serve have further eroded her once strong base of support. At the same time, claims of favoritism and power struggles have created a toxic political atmosphere, isolating Henyard from various factions within the community, including trustees, residents, and local law enforcement. Once a popular figure, Henyard's supporters are fading, while vocal detractors are becoming more organized in their calls for her resignation. The growing outrage from the public, compounded by protests outside City Hall, highlights just how deep the discontent in Dalton has become. What started as small gatherings of frustrated residents has now escalated into larger, more organized demonstrations demanding justice, transparency, and accountability. These protests have become a symbol of the stark disconnect between the mayor and the people she serves. With each passing day, the calls for her resignation only grow louder, yet Henyard remains unmoved. Despite the mounting pressure, Henyard shows no signs of stepping down. Instead of acknowledging the growing discontent, she responds with defiance, appearing unfazed by the public outcry. In a bold move, Henyard invited powerful defense attorneys known for their aggressive tactics to a recent board meeting, signaling that she is prepared for a legal battle and willing to fight to maintain her position. This further fueled suspicions that her network of connections and allies runs deep, leaving many to wonder whether Henyard's grip on power is stronger than the community's ability to hold her accountable. In an attempt to regain public trust, Henyard recently announced a State of the Village address where she promised to present receipts to prove her innocence. However, the specifics of these receipts have yet to be revealed, and many remain skeptical of her intentions. Critics argue that this is merely a calculated public relations move designed to buy time and avoid addressing the broader issues facing the community. Meanwhile, the financial instability in Dolton continues to worsen, and the public's patience is wearing thin. Henyard's refusal to take responsibility for the problem she has caused has only deepened the divide between her and the residents of Dolton. As protests continue to swell, it is clear that the community is no longer willing to tolerate the status quo. The longer Henyard clings to power, the more likely it is that tensions will boil over, with unpredictable consequences for both the mayor and the town. Her actions, which have included alleged financial misconduct, misuse of taxpayer funds, and reports of nepotism, have left Dolton in disarray. Yet Henyard remains unyielding, presenting herself as untouchable despite the growing pressure. For many residents, Henyard's continued hold on power is a sign of a system that is broken, one in which public officials can escape accountability for their actions, no matter how damaging. Her refusal to engage with the concerns of the people she represents has left them feeling betrayed. The community has watched as their tax dollars were misused and their town's financial situation deteriorated under her leadership. Yet Henyard continues to defend her actions, as if nothing is wrong. As the public protests grow in size and intensity, it is becoming clear that the mayor's position is no longer sustainable, yet she remains determined to stay in office. Despite the FBI's ongoing investigation into her financial dealings, Henyard seems to be holding firm in her resolve to remain in power. The public outreach, growing protests, and widespread dissatisfaction with her leadership only seem to fuel her defiance. It is as though she believes she can outlast the storm of controversy and continue to govern with impunity. But this unshakable attitude raises questions about her commitment to the well-being of the residents of Dolton. Instead of stepping down or addressing the concerns of the community, Henyard seems to be digging in her heels, determined to hold on to her position at all costs. As the investigation into her alleged financial mismanagement continues, Dolton residents are left wondering how long they will have to wait for justice. The town's financial crisis, coupled with Henyard's increasingly erratic behavior and refusal to take responsibility for her actions, has pushed many to the brink. The growing unrest outside City Hall is a testament to the public's desire for change, yet Henyard continues to dismiss their concerns with arrogance and indifference. As protests continue and the community's frustration mounts, it remains unclear whether Henyard will ever be held accountable or whether she will continue to evade the consequences of her actions. The situation in Dolton is at a breaking point, and with each passing day, the question of whether Henyard can maintain her grip on power grows more urgent. As her controversial actions continue to unfold and public pressure reaches new heights, residents are left to wonder if Henyard will eventually be brought to justice or if she will remain untouched by the mounting scandal. The people of Dolton are growing more skeptical by the day, and many are beginning to believe that Henyard may escape accountability entirely. With no clear resolution in sight, the future of Dolton and its leadership remains uncertain.